So thank you for joining us tonight.
Well. So, good evening, comrades. It's a pleasure to be here with you representing StrikeMap at this launch event. This evening, I'm going to talk about what StrikeMap is, a bit about the pamphlet series and industrial unionism, and then what the aims of this pamphlet series are for our movement. So, StrikeMap was founded back in December 2020 as an interactive worker-led digital map of strike activity going on across Britain and Ireland. StrikeMap has 4 clear aims that it sets out to achieve. First is to document and present the levels of strike action in the country. Secondly, for people to see the levels of action and pass on messages of solidarity. Third is to encourage other workers in their struggles. And finally, to bring those leading those struggles together through a network. Where StrikeMap is today is a good illustration of the intensification of class struggle over the past few years. Since our project launched, we started the first year with 750 strikes submitted to the map, whereas now there's been well over 230,000 individual workplaces taking strike action and using the map to document them. And we continue to put new strike action on the map every single week. This shows the website has become a really important tool for the movement to log our workplace struggles and show the scale of these actions on the map and locate picket lines. All of that being said, we don't claim to be a complete, accurate record of every strike happening in Britain and Ireland, although we do strive to be as much as possible. Behind the scenes of StrikeMap, we have a steering group of active trade unionists volunteering their labour to build this project. When hosting events, StrikeMap funds are from our affiliations, which include 6 national trade unions and 75 branches and trades councils. Up until last year, StrikeMap solely relied on these affiliations from volunteer labour and individual donations to keep the project afloat. In October last year, we partnered with the General Federation of Trade Unions, an organisation formed back in 1899, which will secure a place in the movement for the map for many years to come. The GFTU's maxim of education, solidarity and unity is something that all of us at the MAF agree with, which is why moving forward, we'll be looking at crafting some educational programmes with the GFTU for trade union activists as well. If you haven't seen the GFTU's educational programme, then do have a look, as there's some amazing courses on their website. Our other project, founded in September 2022, is also worth quickly mentioning as well, which is called Organise Now. This is a peer-to-peer network linking up workers who want to form a union in their workplace with a relevant coach who's experienced in organising in that sector. As part of this project, we have an organising campaign at Gales Bakery happening right now this week, where trade unionists are visiting Gales Bakeries and talking to workers to get them organised and unionised. And if you want to get involved in any of the work of Organise Now, then do come and chat to us at StrikeMap at the end. Now, before I talk about the industrial unionism series, I first want to set the political context for this series. We, of course, have an amazing, incredible history of trade unionism in this country, and this year is the 40th anniversary of the miners' strike. But to put it bluntly, comrades, and as Alex mentioned earlier, the movement is declining, and workers need to be serious about rebuilding, re-energising and improving our movement if we want to shift power into our own hands as workers. In 2023, the number of workers with trade union membership was 6.4 million, which was only about a fifth of the entire labour force. Although membership rose to 89,000 workers from 2022, these last 2 years represent the lowest union membership rates on record since 1995. If we compare the 6.4 million to 13.2 million members nationally in 1979, where around 80% of the economy was covered by collective agreements negotiated by trade unions, you can see we have a lot of work to do to get back to where we need to be. Of course, in the 80s, we also had the introduction of anti-trade union legislation that Thatcher's Tory government brought in. This weakened the powers of the unions and restricted strike action. Privatisation broke up public services, and nationalised industries where jobs were heavily unionised were then replaced with poorly unionised private sector jobs. Blair's Labour government did not reverse Thatcher's changes, and we know neither will Starmer's Labour government. We did, however, see a huge wave of strike activity in the summer of 2022 on a scale we had not seen in a very long time. And this showed signs of revival for the trade union movement, and we must regain this momentum. As a side note, to remind you all that while many of us were down on the picket line showing our support to striking workers, remember Starmer was banning MPs from showing solidarity to workers on picket lines. Now, I'll go on to the Industrial Unionism pamphlet series we have done in partnership with our comrades at Manifesto Press, who you'll find at the entrance in the hallway. So we produced these pamphlets as part of the industrial view of unionism and to support the development of the Shop Stewards Network. These texts have been chosen as they are influential historical texts that are not currently printed, and they provide valuable insights into questions of trade union organisation which still apply today. These pamphlets have already sold better than we could have imagined and shows there's a clear appetite from the rank and file to think through the questions posed in each pamphlet. The first book in the series, The Workers' Committee by J.T. Murphy, explores the organising of the first shop stewards movement in early 20th century Britain and has many ideas that are important for our struggles today and for building our movement. The second pamphlet in the series, The Miner's Next Step by Noah Ablett, discusses our trade union history and its proposals represent a complete rupture with parliamentary politics, whose deference to the state and its institutions is self-evident. With a recently elected Labour government, this text is an important reminder for us and our position as the working class. For the final pamphlet, A Manual of Industrial Unionism by William Z. Foster, is why we're all here this evening. The pamphlet moves beyond small gains won by trade unions to look at the restructuring of our whole economy so that we have a complete power and control back in the hands of workers. Foster says that industrial unions are a more effective organ of struggle against capitalist exploitation and must therefore organise themselves to make the strongest front against employers in their respective industries. So instead of splitting the workers of an industry into several unions, all of which are autonomous and pulling in different directions, and consequently incapable of bringing a solid pressure to bear against the employers, industrial unionism unites all the workers of a given industry into one broad industrial union, thereby enormously increasing the workers' strength. Industrial unionism, in the words of Bob Crow, is one union for one industry, not one union that raises other people's members to make one union, not mergers for the sake of mergers that are not in the interests of working people, but mergers that make sense for workers in a given industry. For example, the RMT had a natural merger in 1990 that made sense for seafarers and rail workers who both worked together in transport and the ports. However, we have a situation where large unions are absorbing smaller unions and span across several different industries. We also have industries like transport, education, and healthcare, where multiple unions cover these sectors. To give an example, healthcare workers are currently organised by 14 different trade unions. This is where industrial unionism, one industry, one union, would be beneficial to workers as it helps build solidarity, stop scabbing, and build real power. If an employer or the government is worsening our quality of life, or if they are causing problems internationally and we want to show our solidarity collectively, we need to be in a position where taking industrial action brings the entire industry to a halt. Power does and should happen from the workplace, and the ability to organise collective action, stoppages, disruption is in the hands of the workers. It's not done by emailing your MP. So what are the next steps beyond the pamphlet series? We see the ideas and examples in the pamphlet materialising into motions, conference, and as political and educational resources for trade union reps and branches to bring these ideas into the movement. We have a reps network at StrikeMap. We would love comrades here who are workplace reps to get involved and discuss the pamphlets, share ideas, and rebuild our movement to be a fighting force again. We are now in a time of intersecting capitalist crises. The trade union movement must play a crucial role in the from the climate crisis to the rise of fascism, to the genocide in Gaza, the cost of living crisis, the privatisation of the NHS and public services. We hope these texts inspire militant class struggle in the workplace from the ground up. Our future can be found in our past, as our present is on a trajectory to manage decline. We must build the call for united fronts. We must unite our industry around key demands, and it must not be about specific unions, but about politics and collective power. In this pamphlet, Foster says that trade union unity has become the most urgent necessity, not only in order for the workers may advance as rapidly as possible, but also that Labour can defend itself from the swiftly gathering forces of fascism. Organised labour is the hope of the world, and we need it urgently, and together we will win. Comrades, thank you.